Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm Tanya Granick-Allen. Do you remember all that chaos and confusion at the beginning of COVID, especially for students having to pivot from in-class learning to then online learning and then sometimes synchronous learning? It was definitely a lot to handle in March 2020. And I suspect that university students and even faculty may have had it the worst. They were just getting ready to wrap up their term, entering final exams, and then poof, no more in-person classes, and quickly things had to pivot. Well, did they pivot well? We're going to talk about that in a moment. But what I'd really like to discuss is, were all these policies necessary? We've seen policy after policy after policy in the past couple of years at universities and colleges. Are they all necessary? And really, how effective are they? Well, joining me today to share his perspective and experience at University of Calgary is Barry Cooper, a professor of political science at the University of Calgary. And he's also an author of Paleolithic Politics and co-author of COVID-19, The Politics of a Pandemic Moral Panic. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mr. Cooper.
You're welcome, Tanya.
Excellent. So I have to say that I really enjoyed reading your latest submission to the C2C journal, and it was titled Empire of Fear: How the Pandemic Made a Canadian University Lose Its Mind. It was a real grabbing title. What compelled you to write this?
First of all, I didn't choose the title. I thought the title was chosen by the editor, and I thought it really would get people's attention. The reason why I wrote it is partly it's a microcosm of what my co-author and I, Marco Navarro, wrote in the COVID-19 book. The second edition should be out sometime later this summer. The first edition was finished basically in the fall of 2020, and a lot has happened since then in the next 18 months or so. So we wanted to talk about that as well. But anyway, why did I write this piece for C2C? Well, from the beginning, the university sent out basically a series of emails from the senior administration and from an electronic newsletter that comes out every day, or in the summer, I think 2 or 3 times a week. I read it, and I was thinking to myself, where are these people coming from? Where do they get the content that they send out to every faculty member and every what we call support staff, and I believe every student too? When it struck me as being just quite bizarre. So I started collecting it, and you can see patterns in it. And I thought, well, this would make an interesting thing to write about. Not to single out the University of Calgary. I don't think that UofC was any different than almost every other major university in the country in the way they responded to it. So I'm not picking on these people for their being so bizarre. The really interesting question is why, not just the universities, but why did the country behave in the way it did? And then why did the university follow the leads of provincial and the federal government and their, quote, experts in the health bureaucracy? That's the interesting question.
And you highlighted at the beginning of your piece, you said when the lockdown first happened, again, March 2020, there didn't seem to be a surge in cases. So I'll ask you point blank, was there a surge in cases in Calgary, at the University of Calgary, which is your personal experience? Was there a surge in cases warranting a lockdown?
Well, that's the problem that never gets asked. There was a lot of evidence, not just from North America, but obviously from Sweden, which is a great outlier in this whole in the whole political response to the COVID-19 event. Where none of this took place, or very little of it. And in North America, there was a lot of evidence by people who were at least as well credentialed as Dina Hinshaw. I would say much more in terms of their expertise than she ever was, or Ms. Tam in Ottawa, to say nothing of our neighbors in British Columbia, that questioned the whole basis for all of these, what I called involuntary agoraphobia, which is to separate us the way was done.